Well, what I was saying, when I was asking you, do you think it's kind of God's plan? Is because even if you think about before Ishmael was born, he told Hagar, he said that his hand will be against everyone, everyone's hand will be against him. He will live in hostility toward all his brothers. That was his prophecy. I mean, with today, if you think about Iran, which is basically that line, that's how it is.
I would say, what the irony there is, I think it's the other way. I think everyone's against Israel. The only ones that are with them is us.
I also think it's interesting that you bring up the brother scenario because the Bible's full of that, right? You had Cain versus Abel, you have Ishmael versus
the Bible is
Isaac, and then you also have that Esau, right? Esau, he sold his birthright to his brother or something like that, right?
Twin, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always this conflict between brothers. It's like a current theme throughout the Bible, which I think is interesting. Which, I like the way you named this.
There's a conversation to be had.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Yo, welcome to another episode of The Conversation to Be Had. I'm your host, Chalo. That's my co-host, Rashawn. We at you with another episode of the podcast you didn't know you needed. So, we could talk about the war some more because we're still in it. It wasn't a quick thing, we gonna actually go ahead, Rashawn. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, man, you gotta let Trump know that, man, because he's declaring victory already, and I mean, they just bombed Israel, like a site where they got nuclear. They said they didn't have nuclear things going on, but it's bad. I mean, 2 ballistic missiles just hit it. So it's still on. It's on the popping, man.
Well, he seems to think we playing action figures or something like these ain't like real people. If you're messing with
risk.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring the panel in. So, guys.
What's up?
Hello.
All right. We got a new guy, Nico, with us today. Hey, Nico, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you. Great to be here.
All right, let's get into this war thing a little bit. Let's talk about the beginnings. When I was thinking about it, I was thinking about our involvement in it, or why we shouldn't be involved in it, because if you think about it, this is kind of a 4,000-year biblical confrontation that's going on, and if you get in the middle of that, I don't think that's something that ends well. I mean, that these in my opinion are 2 brothers fighting, and you got to kind of let them hash it out or work it out, or if they can't, I mean, whatever. But I don't think it's something where us showing assistance is to any benefit to us. It can only, result in bad, coming on us. So that's the way I feel about
it. I mean, I feel like anytime you add religion, it's an added layer, man, to a conflict. You know what I mean? And it's a layer that's hard to break. So I agree with you, Chalo.
Okay. So the way it started out, both sides seem to be sons of Abraham. One promised one thing, one promised another. And then we have once again a battle over the Holy Land. Let's start with you, Raj. You want to get into, that whole history, for us to, let us know a little background?
Sure. Best I can. I'm culturally Jewish much more than I'm religious. Okay. In fact, I'm not religious at all. Okay. Isaac and Ishmael, that's the biblical story of the split between Muslim and Jewish bloodlines. Abe, married to Sarah.
Correct.
Sarah couldn't get pregnant, so Abe knocked up the maid,
Hagar.
Hagar. And so that child was the first child born to the Abrahamic house. Then, by divine intervention, according to the books, Sarah gets pregnant and has Isaac. And Isaac is, because he's the son of both Sarah and Abraham, is given the inheritance. Not just of the house, but according to the book, he inherits the kingdom of Israel. And Ishmael and his mom are banned. They're banished. They're sent away. So this is biblically the split between Muslims and Jews. I'm sorry. My friend Julia couldn't be here tonight. I think she'd have more to say. Julia's a rabbi. She could give that story life.
I mean, I just wanted the clip notes on it. I mean, basically, what you're saying is correct. So we have to analyze that a little bit from the beginning. So these are the beginnings of it, right? So that we understand that both these people, the Jewish people and the Muslim people, came from the same father.
Oh yeah, we're cousins
now,
right? But here's where it gets funky, right? Is that happened a long time before Jesus, and Jesus happened a long time before Muhammad. So who knows, right? Timelines don't exactly marry up.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, from that point where the two brothers are both promised things, but one's promised the covenant and one's just promised 12 princes. One was promised 12 princes and one was promised the covenant would run through him. Now, in my reading of the Bible, just my interpretation of it, I feel like the biggest problem in the whole thing was that Hagar, which was the mother of Ishmael, she was a slave, an Egyptian slave. So it was already a mixed breed going. He wasn't pure. Like, I think that might have something to do with the whole covenant thing, like that's why he couldn't carry the covenant, because he wasn't a pure, whatever line Abraham was well, it turned out to be Jewish, but what the line Abraham was gonna be.
You don't think that's because he was stooping the maid?
I mean, I just know
Sarah wasn't happy.
Well, see, he just said it. He just said it. Like, if you read the passages, that's kind of what you get, the kind of the jealousy, like when she got cast out when Sarah told him to get rid of her. Because did she say something? I think she said something smart. Or
can I jump in here for a second? Because
go ahead, Hazel.
Let me backtrack it back up. Abraham, he was Abram. So first he was Abram. God came to him and said, Abram was like, I don't have anyone to give my inheritance to. I'm going to have to give it to one of my servants, because that's how it worked if you didn't have any children of your own. God told Abram, keep that in mind, and it's in the Bible. You read it yourself. Told Abram, you will have a child. You will bear a son. He goes home, tells his wife, she was Sarai at the time, and he was like, God said, I'm going to have a kid. She's like, I'm too old to have kids. Why don't you take Hagar, the maid, and you can have a child with her, and that'll be our child. We'll raise the child. So it wasn't like he was out there sneaking around. This was her and him talking together to say, we're going to do this thing.
And it was legal by law. What they did was legal by the laws.
Well, I guess it don't really matter. I mean, back then, dudes had multiple wives. Like, that wasn't even like crazy like it is today. But the point is, the original promise of a child was spoken to Abraham. God never said, I'm going to do this for you and Sarah until later. So they have the child. 13 years later, God is like, I'm going to bless you and Sarah with a child, because Sarah, he renamed her Sarah, renamed him to Abraham. He's like, I'm going to bless you guys with a child of your own. Sarah was upset with Hagar because Hagar started feeling like she was not just a maid anymore. She was a little more important because she gave this dude his firstborn child, who God also blessed and said, you yourself will be a great nation. Let that not get lost in the sauce here. Both Isaac and Ishmael were blessed by God to become great. Isaac got to stay with the family. Ishmael and Hagar, they ended up leaving. Another thing to keep in mind, the word Israel wasn't even mentioned for another 160 years. So there was no land called Israel. It was just the land between the river and the sea. And that was blessed to Abraham's offspring. Who was Abraham's offspring?
Isn't Jacob Israel? Wasn't he changed
Yeah,
his
that's
name
what I
to Israel?
believe too.
So Abraham had his kids when he was like 84 and like 99 or something like that, right? When Isaac was 60, he had Jacob. So that, like, it's a grandchild of Abraham. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a full generation between Jacob coming, and then Jacob has Judah. Like, he has the tribe. He has the
12 tribes.
12 is. So now you're talking a full another generation.
But wait, real quick. I got
That's what God promised him, right? The 12
Right, real quick.
Yeah,
Real quick. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep up, right?
Yeah.
But God promised Abraham, right, that both his sons were. So he made the covenant with Abraham.
He said his offspring, right?
Okay. But he also promised both of them. He promised Ishmael like 12 princes. He promised Isaac like 12 tribes. But Jacob, Jacob. Who was Israel then?
Jacob
I thought
is
Isaac
the
was
son of Isaac.
Jacob is later. His name is changed to Israel.
Okay.
Like,
So
God just be changing it up. He like, today you Rashawn, tomorrow you Lawrence.
Yeah, some people's names change. Like, I mean, I think like Simon later became Peter as well.
Right. Exactly.
That's true. I remember that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay. And the covenant passes down. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, it's a very important thing when you fast forward to today and you're talking about people fighting over land. That land was promised to the seeds of Abraham. Ishmael was his firstborn, and Isaac was his secondborn. Both were given the promise. Do you get it? Like, one can't out the other because they're both like.
It's a fight about legitimacy. That's what it's about now.
Right. So what you're telling me is, but wait. So what you're telling me is, in God and all His infinite wisdom, set the board against each other. He made a promise to one son. He made a promise to the other one, and that set the board to where they are going to fight for the rest of the time.
I mean, if we get, that's a different conversation. But if you want to go to the God knows all, He knew Cain would kill Abel. There was 4 people on earth according to the Bible. One right there, 25% were killers. so
the population reduced real fast. A quarter of the population ended real fast.
But yes, to answer your question, yes. I mean, if God is all knowing, He knew this is exact. He knew all these things were going to happen. Otherwise, God isn't what we've been all taught that God is. That's a different conversation than this. Right. This is simply a promise. Both people got a promise. One,
let me ask you this.
One got player hated on, but he still got his property or whatever.
So let me ask you this, Jesus. Do you feel, and I'm going to ask the rest of the panelists too, do you feel like what's going on now then is God's plan? Because
I don't personally, because I don't. So now you got to fast forward into like further into Judaism, the arrival of Jesus. So for Christians, before we get to that, let me just say this one thing. Esau is part of Isaac's line. Mm-hmm. Esau is Christianity. Comes on down, you get to Jesus. Okay, so that Isaac, Jacob, his kid, like all of this happens. You finally get to Jesus. So when they say stuff like, "Oh, we're going to do the Abraham or the Abram Accords," and Donald Trump was like thinking like he don't. I guarantee you, he didn't realize that it's the three. It's Muslims, Christians, and Jewish. Like that, those are the accords. That's the three, right? So Abraham is the father of the three religions. You guys
Right,
follow?
but what I was saying when I was asking you, do you think it's kind of God's plan? Is because even if you think about before Ishmael was born, he told Hagar, he said that his hand will be against everyone, everyone's hand will be against him. He will live in hostility toward all his brothers. That was his prophecy. I mean, with today, if you think about Iran, which is basically that line, that's how it is.
I would say, you know what the irony there is? I think it's the other way. I think everyone's against Israel. The only ones that are with them is us.
I also think it's interesting that you bring up the brother scenario because the Bible's full of that, right? You had Cain versus Abel, you have Ishmael versus
the Bible is
Isaac, and then you also have that Esau, right? Esau, he sold his birthright to his brother or something like that, right?
Twin, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always this conflict between brothers. You know, it's like a current theme throughout the Bible, which I think is interesting. Which, wow, I like the way you named this episode. So I mean, so could we kind of? I mean, real quick, the whole point was that. Would you kind of say that Israel now and Iran now are just the same, just two brothers fighting over land, just as they were doing 4,000 years ago? Nothing's changed. That's what this is.
So this is where I step completely aside and say that what's going on today is not based on the Bible, because Israel is not God. That's a political state. Right? Okay. Because the Jewish people were put into exile because they don't believe in the Messiah, right? So they were put into exile. Temple was destroyed.
One of the times we were put into exile.
But the problem,
we get kicked out of a lot.
It's happened.
They were kicked out of Babylon.
But in the Bible,
70 years.
Yeah, it's happened. Like I get that, but exile from man is one thing. Exile from God because you didn't believe in the Son, that's another thing. Now, the Messiah has not returned, right? For us, it would. I don't know if you guys are. I'm Christian, so for me, Jesus came. I believe that Jesus came. For Jewish people, they're waiting on the Messiah to come.
Right.
They believe Jesus was just a normal guy. They don't believe he was special. He was just a normal person. And so, and I mean, you could nod, but
Jesus would be the second Messiah. The first Messiah was King Cyrus.
I thought he was a rabbi or something, according to
There's only one
King Cyrus was
maybe you could call him a prophet, but not a Messiah. There's a difference between a prophet and a Messiah.
You can't have more than one.
Hold on, I'm gonna look that up because I thought King Cyrus was the first person, because God predicted the whole thing when King Cyrus came in and he conquered Babylon. He gave Babylon back to the Jews. He let the Jews come. They had been exiled for like 70 years or something like that, and he let them come back in. And he was a pagan. He was a Persian. They didn't worship God.
Persians, by the way, that's what you would call Iran today.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's always this conflict. Even if you look at the birth of Jesus, the three wise men were Persians.
There's no actual three wise men in the Bible. It's just wise men. We don't know. We don't know if there was 28.
Well,
we just know there were wise men, and over the years,
did they have their names?
They're just wise men.
Well, we know they had three gifts. I know, right? Like
it was Hector and Michael and Jimmy. Like, nah.
But the three gifts represented the
frankincense, gold, and myrrh.
Right.
The three gifts, right?
The three gifts.
I think that's where we all come to.
I only know that because of that James Taylor song. That's the only way I know that.
But anyways, Chalo, to get back to your and Rashawn's thing. So since they are to be in exile, to me, because some political party agreed to give them land and they named it Israel, does not represent Israel from the biblical times.
No, Israel of the biblical times was the Levant, right?
Correct. And I think Jesus has just a perfect point where if you look at that interview with Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, they had this discussion, right? Because Ted Cruz was saying that he was commanded by God, by the Bible commands him to protect the state of Israel. And then Tucker Carlson seriously said, the state of Israel? Because he said, are you saying that it's like the Benjamin Netanyahu's Israel is who you need to protect, or the biblical version of Israel? And Ted Cruz thought for a second, and he said, no, it's the state of Israel because that's in the Bible. And they're both Christians, and I would.
They are.
I mean, they both call themselves Christians.
I don't think Ted Cruz is.
But I would say I think Tucker Carlson reads the Bible way more than Ted Cruz, because Tucker Carlson actually calls him out and says the Bible doesn't say the political land of Israel.
It doesn't even. The problem is it doesn't even say Israel.
You're right. It doesn't.
It doesn't even say Israel. It says, I'll find the verse because I know it. It does, because it, like I said,
it says the people of, right? Something like that. Jesus,
that verse. The word is
Jesus. Doesn't it say it will go to the people of, like something like that? It doesn't actually call the land. It says people of, right?
Yeah, it's like it's the land of Canaan and the children of Abraham, and it's very vague. It's not,
Yeah.
It's not the Goldsteins get this hill. It's not like
right.
that at all.
That doesn't happen until later. Later, they parse out land. Like later in the Bible, land is actually parsed out and given to the families.
Yeah.
But the whole Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz thing where he's like, hey, it says that. It does not say that. I'm going to find the verse. I'm going to read it verbatim. You can pick any version you want. You're not going to find the word Israel in there. And keep in mind, Abraham wasn't Jewish. Jewish wasn't even a thing yet. That's generations away. So Abraham is just humanity. He's a person. He's part of obviously a culture and selected by God. But he himself wasn't Jewish, because if he was, then was he also a Christian, and then was he also a Muslim? Right?
Like, I didn't even think about that.
He was
before. I never thought about that.
He predates that. That's why they call him the father of all three, because he predates.
Okay.
But,
Jesus, can I ask? I just don't want to inadvertently offend you. Can I ask what kind of a Christian you are? Are you red letter Christian? Are you evangelical? Are you what kind of a Christian are you?
That's a really good question, because I don't actually I'm not like in the club. I'm not like, ooh,
I got you. Me neither.
But I do. The red letters mean something to me, though.
What are red letters?
The red letters are the words Jesus said himself.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're reading some Bibles, newer ones particularly, those words in the Bible, they will actually be red text.
I've seen that. I didn't know that's what it was.
I've seen Jesus himself said these things. So to me, when I see that, I obviously pay a little more attention to what was he saying, right? Because nowhere in Jesus's time was he talking about Israel and doing anything for any nation, not just Israel. It was just no nation. Was he like? That's why Christian nationalism to me is not Christianity. There's no such Jesus wasn't like, hey guys, make this place awesome. No, he said, go out to the world and make disciples of the world. Now
I got to push back on you a little bit, Jesus.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not.
So Messiah means anointed one. If you look at Isaiah 45:1, when God is predicting.
God doesn't predict. That's part of the problem here.
Well, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. When he's giving you prophecy, he's telling you what the dude's name is going to be, and he's called the anointed one, his anointed one. That's the Messiah. That's what that means. He came before Jesus. And his anointed one, because that's what I was trying to tell you, was his anointed one freed the Jews. Which was supposed to be his chosen people.
If the book of Isaiah says that, I won't argue it, but I can tell
Isaiah 45:1.
No one recognizes that person as the Messiah. We
In
identify
Christianity, yeah.
In Christianity.
as the Savior. Now, that person might have saved some people and did the Moses thing and brought people and saved them in some way. But Jesus is the Messiah. There was no first. Jesus was God's only begotten.
Right.
Only to me is one.
But that his only begotten, that doesn't mean Messiah. That's not what a Messiah is. A
But
Messiah is the anointed one.
I
That's
guess-
the meaning of it, and that's
I
what
think
I'm
it's
trying to
different.
tell
I think
you.
it's different.
And to be real clear, I don't care. Jesus is the only Messiah I will recognize. I don't care. If it says that, great. The entire Old Testament for me points to Jesus, no one else. The entire New Testament is about Jesus. But if somewhere in there the lingo got translated in a Bible that says that this guy was the Messiah that no one's been taught about, I'm not going to argue that. It doesn't take away from Abraham having these kids, all the things we've talked about. We're in semantics now of something that doesn't matter. We can look.
I'm not doing semantics. I'm telling you the story. He's a part of the story because God said he was going to happen. God said that Cyrus was going to go in there and bring the Jews back to Babylon. He said that.
Right, but what my point is, that's Old Testament, Paulo. Do you understand that? Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, I understand the difference between Old Testament and New
Okay.
Testament. 100%.
Old Testament is a different covenant than New Testament for us, for people that believe in Jesus. So no matter what happened, the covenant for us is with Jesus, not anyone else. They could have been 28 people that got it. For us, it's only Jesus. So like I said, I don't want to argue it because I'm not saying like, oh, you're wrong. I'm just saying no one recognizes anyone as the Messiah but Jesus. And for Jewish people, there is no New Testament. So they're still awaiting on the Messiah. And we are waiting on the return of the Messiah.
And I think I know what you mean. I see what happened here. So I know what you're talking about, Jesus. That's how I grew up. I grew up Catholic. I don't know. That's how I grew up. I grew up Catholic, and there was only one. It was Jesus. But Cyrus, I guess, because he conquered Babylon and he gave land back to the Jewish people, that they were very happy for that, and they kind of gave him the name Messiah in the book of Isaiah. I think that's where Charles getting his from. Am I right, Charles?
They didn't give him the name. That's what God said. You are my anointed one, and that's what anointed one means, Messiah. That's what anointed one means. That's what Messiah means, anointed.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure it out. Real quick, before we go further, if everybody doesn't mind, can I ask what type of, where do you fall on the religious scales? Just so it's kind of clear. It'll help me out a little bit. V.
Yeah, so I grew up in a multi-denominational household. My dad was Christian, my mother was Hindu, and they both participated in each other's religions. I went to both Catholic Church and the Hindu temple. Most of my life, my sister gravitated more towards the Hindu religion, and I gravitated more towards Catholicism. So I grew up in a multi-denominational household. I went to Catholic Church. That's how I defined myself for most of my life. I will say, however, there's been large swaths of my life where I considered myself agnostic and then came back to religion. And sometimes, depending on the month, I might say, fuck this, but overall, I am a Christian, but I do have my fights with God.
I'm a Christian.
So so today, right now, what are you today?
I consider myself a Christian.
Okay. Rod, I already know, but just for the sake of everybody.
No, I was raised in a single parent household, and this is actually one of the things that my mom really did right. That, come 13, I was bar mitzvahed mostly to shut the grandparents up, but she gave me a grounding in not just Judaism, but also, Christianity and Catholicism, and not so much with Islam in Connecticut at that in the late 70s and early 80s, but she gave me as much of a grounding as she could. And I had friends, and I would go to church with them at different Christian Zionist friends and evangelical friends, and the creepy family that spent Halloween in the closet praying because, anyway, but I am culturally Jewish. I'm not a religious person.
Okay. What about you, Deco?
I am mainly a mix from the Episcopal Church mainly. That was the church I was brought up in. I was baptized in that one from St. John's Episcopal Church right outside the White House in D.C. Then I was brought up at St. Mary's in Arlington, the city that everyone knows the Arlington Cemetery is in. And then I also observed the Anglican Church too, and I've gone to the Orthodox Church, mainly the Greek Orthodox, once a year because my mom's Syrian family religious background was that, but she was more agnostic, and my dad brought us up as Episcopalians for a good portion of our life. And his father, who was half Filipino, he was a Catholic, but then he liked the Episcopal Church when he married my grandmother, so then they kind of converted to that. So we're not really like full on Catholic or Protestant per se. I would say that regarding how my denomination works is it's more Catholic than Protestant, and I did have a conversation with my dad about this recently. Like the teachings are more Catholic where I was brought up in, but the church may reform kind of like the Protestants, but it's kind of like a middle ground with that. But like Catholics and Protestants as a whole, you know, don't really consider Episcopalians to be like the same as them. Like they have their differences, but it's probably closer to Catholicism in terms of the teachings, in terms of how I grew up.
And just a quick side question, y'all. What's the difference between Episcopalians and Catholicism? What is the difference?
It's just the denomination. I mean, I don't know the full differences. I mean, well, one thing I can get into is I know Episcopalians cannot take communion with the Catholic Church, but I think they'll allow any denomination to take communion with them because as long as they're baptized, you're allowed to. And it was the same thing when I gone to like Lutheran churches for friends of mine too. Like for the most part, I'm aware that I can take communion at any church as long as it's not the Orthodox or Catholic Church.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Zeus.
I think we started with me.
I know. Yeah, we did. I didn't know if you wanted to just clarify anything. That's all.
I just believe, I definitely believe in God, and I believe in Jesus. I'm not going to go to a Catholic church and call some normal guy father, right? Like the Bible explicitly says there's only one father, and that's the one in heaven. You can't break the rules. I don't believe Jesus would come back. Like, I don't have a problem with the Pope or the whole idea of it, but I just think Jesus is going to come back and be like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do, was be a guy that needs a little glass buggy to go around and have everyone.
I do like this Pope, though. I will tell you that. This Pope I actually like.
This Pope is cool, and the last Pope was the coolest Pope of my lifetime.
Chicago, man. You a Sox fan? Bears fan?
And I've gone to the Vatican before, which is cool.
I don't mind. To me, when I was a kid, I always questioned why on a corner could there be 3 different churches, but they all claim.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
This is my problem with religion in general, right?
Yes, I just prefer to keep mine as like relationship. Like I want to try to be better today than I was yesterday, and Jesus is kind of that moral compass for me.
Yeah, which is what my niece is about. She's very much a Christian. Yeah, I mean, look, you see religion do amazing things for people, but at the same time, to adhere to a religion, any of them or any version of them, means that if you have chosen the right way, if you have decided that this is the right way, then tacitly you have also decided that all these other things are wrong.
Oh, wrong. Right.
And I can't. Sorry, I can't do that.
See, that's where I'm conflicted, right? That's where my confliction happens, right? Like I was born in a Catholic church. I mean, I did all the sacraments, first communion, reconciliation, all that kind of stuff. You know, went to Catholic school for 8 years, but I mean, then I fell away from it, and I would, classify myself agnostic, borderline atheist. Like, I mean, because I just don't understand how. I just don't understand the concept of religion. I don't get it anymore. It doesn't make sense to me, like how somebody can believe just one thing, just totally and fully, and then look at another person and say you're going to hell because you don't believe this, this, and this. That's just crazy to me. And I also feel like that religion is one of the common denominators of everything that's wrong in this world. It's done so much damage. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shit on anybody's religion or being religious or anything like that. Because like Rod said, I've seen religion do wonderful things for people. You know, it's brought them back and everything like that. You know, but I just don't understand the concept. It just totally goes by me. I just don't understand how people.
Yeah, I think I like when I hear that, I totally feel like I see it, I feel it. This is the way I see it, right? So if Jesus was real and Jesus came to save us for all our sins, I don't know how anyone else defines all. To me, if he says all, that's everything. So for Christians to turn their noses up to LGBT people or someone that's from across the border or whatever, to me, that is not Christianity at all. That is not what Jesus was about. Nowhere was Jesus about killing people, right? Nowhere was he about that. So for me, it's like I want to leave people with a smile and a wonderment of like, that dude is not rich, but man, it feels like he is. It feels like he's got something going on in his life that's different. And it's not that I'm forcing my salvation and yours. It's not a team sport.
Right.
So I'm not here to be like, if you don't do this, that, and the third. I'm like, I look more at Christians and go, that's not really what Jesus said.
Yeah.
You guys, there's a saying, if you can't pick the fruit, don't bruise it. That's what I want. Right?
Okay.
I'm not going to be out here like, hey guys, if you didn't go to Easter service, you know how many Easter services I've missed? Many. Why? Because that's the day that my seat is taken, because everybody's in there. So I'm like, I'll take that one off. Jesus understands, right? He's omnipresent. And he knows who I am.
Right. Well, right, because he's all knowing, right? So because he's part of God, so God knows your heart, right?
He knows my heart, and that's where I am with my walk, is that place. I feel religion, to your point, Rashawn, has been weaponized almost across the board,
and almost immediately.
Right. And that, I don't want to be a part of that. The reason why this conversation is so important is because the conversation of like Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson having this conversation, well, Ted is weaponizing Christianity.
So is Tucker.
Right. And so what I want to do is go, hold on a second, crack the book, read the book. You don't have to be religious to at least know if your tax money and potentially your family members are going off to war. You might want to know what these guys are up there talking about.
Think a little different about it too.
What's that, fellow?
But the thing is,
I wanted to say to go ahead, John.
Go ahead. The reason I wanted to get into the religious aspect of it, though, is because that's what I'm saying. Okay, they're fighting over the Holy Land that and each one of them say God promised it to them, but they don't worship the same God.
But they do.
They do though.
They do in a sense, but like, okay, put it to you like this. If it happened to you, okay, so God didn't talk to me and he didn't talk to you, we brothers. He talked to Abraham. Okay, that's the only one. So Abraham dies and it's just me and you standing there. And I know I'm the oldest son, the heir, and I should be the heir to the throne. And you, the youngest son, the younger son, say, well, no, because dad said God told him that, the covenant runs through me. Do you understand? Like, I mean, just put it in a normal human type of aspect. I'll be like, no, hell no, Dad. I don't know what Dad was drinking that night, but I know he didn't say that. Like, please, I'm the oldest. This is mine. You
ever see siblings fight over inheritance when someone passes away?
That's what I'm trying to put it into a normal thing. Like, why would, if I was Iran, why would I accept that? Like, okay, you saying God says you the holy people. Why I say God said I'm the holy people.
But that's what I was saying. And that's what I was saying earlier, man. The rules are set up against each other. So I don't think there's ever going to be any type of
I don't think you can commingle on making borders and land using the religious aspect into the whole thing. I don't think you can, and that's what they're trying to do. And it's never going to work.
So
Because
let me answer
go
what
ahead, go ahead.
what Rashawn was saying, a couple
ahead.
minutes ago about talking about religion, but I want to talk about it from this particular perspective, which is a lot of Christians and Catholics believe that the covenant changed when Jesus basically died for our sins, and that the Old Testament no longer applies. Now, I know that a lot of people use the Old Testament as justification for their hate against gays and lesbians and all sorts of other things. But as what Jesus was saying, when you look at what Jesus actually said, I think that's the more important thing. If you are someone that wants to believe the word of Jesus Christ and the word of God, the other thing to think about is when the Old Testament was written, you didn't have historians, you didn't have really any documentation, but every single credible historian believes Jesus was at least a man. Now, whether you had supernatural powers or not, that's up to you. I'm not dictating that. But what I am saying is that historians believe that Jesus was a real life man and he had these beliefs. So we know that he was at least an actual person that existed in history. He's not just a religious person, he's a historical figure. So looking at the New Testament, in my opinion, is much more valuable. And to me, from a personal level, teaches love and it teaches to bring together. Whereas the Old Testament is like, this is how you deal with people who don't like you type of deal, right? It's not something, in my opinion, that has any place in religion other than, okay, this is the history about it. But it doesn't have a place, to me, in my religion. The New Testament, like I said, completely different. That, honestly, if more people just said, screw the Old Testament and look at the New Testament, we'd be in a much better place.
Hey,
Yeah, no, I think I always say this one thing. I say if people would just, there's really, for me, the Bible, there's one great line in it, and I wish that people would really just go by that, and it's just treat people how you would like to be treated. I think that's a perfect line. Like, dude, that's all you need to know. Like, there you go, right there, bam, and everything will be cool. You know what I mean? I know I don't want to get shot at, so I'm not going to shoot you. I know that I want to eat, so I'm gonna help feed you. Like, it just gets all misconstrued, and it drives me nuts, man. It's one of those things that, it's hard to argue and understand, and for me to fathom. That's why I'm happy we're having this conversation.
I think you just said so much, right? I don't even think the notion of arguing about religion belongs in a conversation about different religions. I think, this is, if I can at least say this, if nothing else, a religion is a thing that's felt. And if I feel a certain thing towards a certain religion, who are you to tell me that I'm feeling wrong? And who am I to tell you that what you're feeling is wrong? And so it's not about, it's more of for me, it's more of a compare and contrast thing. Once you get into arguing about religion, then you get into the problem with religion, which is my way is the right way and your way is the wrong way.
Rod, that's so good, because
Yes.
I have this conversation often with other Christians, is they will buy into the media and think that Muslims are the worst people on the planet, and that their customs are, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I try to tell them, if you take any religion, if I grew up a Hindu in India, right, I'm going to have things that are very normal to me, because I grew up there. That is my culture. I come to America, I start hearing about Jesus, and they're like, he's this guy that's so awesome, and he just wants you to be saved, and wants you to be kind. But then you see our government using Jesus to drop bombs everywhere. That is a conflict, right? Like that would give anyone the internal conflict to go, what? And that's why when I hear someone from a different religion, just like you said, I just want to hear about it. I don't want to be like, I'm going to argue with you because Jesus is right. Who am I to defend who I believe is God? like God is up there, like, man, dang, Jesus, handle this one for me, man. I'm out today.
Look, it's crazy.
It's better. It's to me, even believing in Jesus, it is important to build relationships to reflect that than to try to force you
Yeah.
or
Right.
argue with what you might believe and value. You might
Right.
value these things in your heart. Who am I to come and say your heart is wrong?
Right.
That's,
You know,
that's
it's
crazy.
I see.
and you
I just see them all as like, look, these are first fumblings of trying to figure out consciousness and and awareness of death and mortality and how do you survive in. I mean, if you look at Old Testament and New Testament, it's about how to survive in a small closed community. Don't steal anything. Don't try and get with the neighbor's chick. Don't kill anybody. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. Like even halal and kosher, dude. The pork is killing people. We don't stop eating the pig, dude. Those clams, they've been sitting in that car for 4 days, man. Don't eat the shellfish. Like, right? And I at some point in these conversations, especially at least with the big three monotheistic religions, that like, what kind of drugs were growing in that desert back in the day, man? Like, they all birthed from the same place. Like, I've been there a bunch. I never had drugs like that. Are you kidding me?
No, you're right though, man, and it's just insane to me. Well, and I want to just mention one thing, that it's not that I'm like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-religion. Like, my little 5-year-old, he goes to the little Muslim school on Sundays because he's got a friend, Farouk, and he goes there, and I don't care. That's fine, you know what I mean? Like, he's learning all about. He always asks me about God and everything like that, and I don't take that away from him or anything. I feel like it's a journey that everybody should take on their own. That's their own solo journey. You get where you're going to get. My sister, she had some issues, but she found God that helped save her. That's good. That's good for her. Wasn't my thing. It's never been my thing, but I'm not going to take that away from anybody either. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Like, that's how I do with my kids. And so
Yeah, I mean, there's
right,
Cowboy fans, for crying out loud, so I get it.
yeah, it's the first place I had a date. I couldn't believe how good dates were. Was when the Ramadan's over, the feast, they have an inter something where you can bring in other people to come feast with them. And it was the first time I had a date, and I was like, man, these are delicious. I can eat these things all day, man. But you learn, it's culture. Like, I love the culture. That's what I want to say. I love the cultures.
First time I ate a loquat was outside of Jerusalem, and it blew my mind, and it's still my favorite fruit.
I don't even know what that is, man.
It's
a loquat?
Yeah, it's loquat.
I gotta Google it.
Yeah, yeah.
The fruit?
Well,
It's a fruit. Yeah, they don't travel well. They bruise up really fast, and they get mushy really fast. You got to pull them off a tree and eat them within a day or two, and treat them really gently.
It looks like an orange.
It's got like a skin like a plum.
Okay.
And it's sort of like, it tastes kind of like a cross between a plum and apricot and a pear. Mm-hmm. It's really good. Not too sweet, not too tart.
Right. And I think what I'm trying to say is that there's value in every religion. That's what I see. I see value in it, right? I see value in Muslim. I see value in Christianity. I see value in Hinduism, Buddhism, all that. I see value in it, and I just wish that people could just appreciate the value and just take that. That's it. The
reason I stopped eating pork was because of Muslim. When I was cutting hair, and he'd be on me all the time. So I invited him to a barbecue because we had an apartment right above the barbershop. And he's sitting there, and he takes the pork, and he takes the hamburger, and he takes the chicken, he put it on a plate, and he covered it. And he was like, "Just watch what happens to this." Man, a couple of days later, dude, that pork was alive again. I couldn't believe it. The hamburger was shriveled up, chicken was shriveled up, but that pork was something else, man. It had turned. He was like, and that's what happens in your stomach. And I had no pork.
In there for a few days. And
so look. Every time I tell people, no, I don't eat pork. And they be like, "Oh, you a Muslim?" I'd be like, "No, dude. It's not good for you. You show me a health book where it's in there, and we can talk, but it's not good for you."
That's fucked up that nobody's asking you if you're Jewish, man. The guy that cuts my hair calls himself a Hebrew. He's a big gay black Jewish man who calls himself a Hebrew. He cut my hair for 20 years, man.
But like getting back to this Iran-Israel war today, do you think that okay, we've established like these are two family lines fighting, but when you get to the point where you're killing my dad, can there be a reconciliation after that? I mean,
What do you mean? Like,
politically,
you mean Iran, the guy being killed?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Like
Some the
the
Ayatollah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
But that's
the
somebody's dad. You see what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
who's in power now. So
Right.
so
Okay.
like when you come to make peace with me, so to speak, like can that really happen after you just killed my dad? Like can that ever really be a thing? Like if I'm in the way, because I'm feeling kind of different. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't.
cultural memory is a whole different thing there than it is in the West. They remember things far more vividly and for far longer than we do. And the damage that we and Israel are doing in this war right now, our grandkids will be paying for.
Yeah, and their grandkids are gonna want revenge. That's the point I'm making. So can there ever be like, have we gone now to the point of no return as far as this goes? Like
No.
that's why I
Say
said
this.
for us, for the United
No.
States to be involved in this, it's stupid because it's gonna keep going on. It's been going on, it's gonna keep going on. So we shouldn't have been there in the first place. We should have, sat on the sidelines on this one.
There
Go
was a
ahead, V.
time. There was a time in the '90s where we really thought that peace was a possibility, right? Bill Clinton, Yasser Arafat, Shimon Peres. I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but the point is, even though none of them all 100% agreed, right? You still had the PLO that disagreed with Hamas, for example. You still had everyone at the table talking, even though all of that fighting was going on. Brothers, sisters, mothers, they were all dying. And yet you still had people that were willing to come to the table, but they were moderates. At that point, they were still moderates, right? The PLO, even though they were considered a terrorist organization, Yasser Arafat was considered pretty much a moderate compared to Hamas. And the thing is, you have Perez, who is considered a moderate compared to Netanyahu. But the problem now, and Bill Clinton was considered a moderate compared to Trump. You had all those three people, and they were considered moderate. And they were like, listen, we know that Israel's never going to give up all the land, but maybe we should shrink it down a bit. Okay, we do that. Maybe you could recognize this state as their own state. All right, we're not going to agree on Jerusalem, so that's a different battle. Like, there were talking points where people were willing to work for it. But the problem is that when you had these quote-unquote radicals who said, if it's not my way, it's no way, that's where the problem lies. So the only way you get out of this, there has to be people willing to say that I am not going to get everything I want. That if you want peace, you have to be willing to give shit up. And we used to have that in the 90s. We don't have it anymore. The question, Jallo, to
We
me...
did not have it in the 90s.
Well, I'm sorry. I should say we were close to having it in the 90s, or closer than we ever had before.
Right, which is what birthed Hamas, sorry, I don't mean to hijack. Chalo,
Go ahead, man.
No, I understand your point. I understand your point.
Go ahead, Rod.
So...
No, go ahead, Rod. I want to hear what you got to say real quick.
Just to recap, Chubbs, just to recap a little bit. So Hamas was born out of a member of the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt, came into Gaza and birthed Hamas for one reason, which was to kill any chance of a two-state solution. That's why Hamas was born. That's why Hamas exists, right? So the 90s was the first intifada, which came out of Hamas growing a bit, right? So I feel like we're at this point in the discussion. We were at this before with Gaza and with Iran. We got to stop, especially there. We got to stop taking an Occam's razor approach to geopolitics. It's nuanced and it's complicated and it's layered and it's really hard to do an overview, right? It's really fucking hard, at least to nail an overview, right? Because there's Jews in Israel, right? But there were Jews all over the Arab world. This was, I can't remember if we talked about Mizrahi Jews before, but Mizrahi Jews, where there was 850,000 that were kicked out of Arab countries when Israel was declared a state. So it's not clean. It's not the Jews are over here and the Arabs are over there and those guys are Shia and these guys are Sunni. It's way more complicated than that, and it's a mishmash. And that's why October 7th happened when it happened. Is it was Hamas trying to kibosh the Abraham Accords, right? That we were 2.5 years ago closer to a 2-state solution than we've been since Oslo. We, the big we. I don't mean Jewish people. I don't mean Israelis. I mean the world, right? There's, as much as I'm not a religious person, there is something to be felt in not just in Israel, but in Jerusalem and in the old city of Jerusalem specifically. There's, I'm not super spiritual, but there's something about that place where that much of the world is thinking about that place at any given time, and you can feel it. It's really, and like an epiphany that I had when I saw the relationship between the Western Wall and Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, where it's literally the Wailing Wall is the western wall of the Temple Mount, and on top of the Temple Mount is Al-Aqsa Mosque and Dome of the Rock. My first reaction to my guy at the time was, it's fucking amazing. Everybody hasn't killed everybody else down to the last person. They're so close. Everything is so close. Everything is so interrelated. So like there has to be some sort of a jump between Isaac and Ishmael and now, right? And religion now doesn't mean what it meant then, although it still means quite a lot, and it's still used. It's a mechanism of control for people, right? Ask the ladies in the Middle East how they feel about being controlled by their religion when nobody's around and there's no camera around, right? So I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but this started in the age of the 24-hour news cycle in my generation and Gen X, right? Where we just short attention spans and sound bites became a thing. And there's a lot of stuff in life that can't be summed up by a soundbite. But the propensity to try and make it fit into a soundbite is still very much ingrained in all of us at this point. Now you got to say it fast, you got to say it quick, you got to say it clean, except that this shit isn't fast and it's not clean. It's dirty and it's muddled and it's complicated and it's, and there's, it's have and have nots, and it's not just economics, it's socioeconomics, and it's leadership roles and power and money, and right, and all of them have different effects on what was happening in Gaza and what's happening now with the Iranian war and I still don't know what the hell Donald Trump wants out of this war. I swear to God,
he doesn't know what he wants.
Right?
So let me take
but
over.
That doesn't match
Rob.
what Bibi wants out of this war.
No, it doesn't.
Let me take over right there, because that'll lead me into my final question. With all the stuff that we've discussed, and think about this seriously. What would be an end point? How do we win, so to speak? How do we, being that this really isn't our fight, we made it our fight? What does winning look like to us? How can we say, okay, it's over, we won? How does that happen for us?
Just declare it. There's no winning. Just declare it and get the hell out. That's it.
Yep. We've lost. By taking part, we have lost.
Correct.
It's done.
That's what I think too. But
another thing to take into account is, I think part of the reason we're in that problem that we're in today with it is when Obama apparently he developed this contract in 2015 that kind of legally binded us to fund Israel. So basically, that's like why I think Trump and Biden and even Obama have been trying to fund Israel for whatever their goals. And it still probably goes back as far as to Clinton too.
Keep going.
Camp David
goes way back.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to the 70s at the.
Keep going.
On.
Keep going.
This thing going on. Yeah, Rod, you're right. I'm with you, brother.
I had one more question. Okay.
Make it something we can fight about, because this is all the love thing. It's weird,
I
man.
mean, yeah. I don't know about that because this whole thing, stupid is stupid. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody on the show is stupid. So, but Iran has responded by hitting 14 different nations, including Gulf states and Cyprus, right? Does this regionalize of the war make NATO inevitable coming into this, or will it force the Arab nations to kind of distance themselves?
You
from the U.S.
notice they
alliance?
haven't attacked anything. They haven't blown anything up in Europe. You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
They can. It's not that far away.
They proved it with the Diego Garcia missile, right? So that was a threat, saying we can do it.
Well,
and they're not doing it.
I thought the U.S. military bases, at least mostly like in the Gulf states or the other parts of the Middle East, from Iran's doing. But
say that again. What was it?
So what?
What did Nico say?
About what?
Just now. What was the thing you just said?
I was mostly reiterating how I think Iran was mostly attacking U.S. military bases, primarily in the Gulf states.
That is exactly what it is. It's not that Iran is like this crazy, wild, bombing people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mugs got bombed. Now they're responding. You guys, I know you've heard this. Nations saying they have a right to defend themselves.
Yes.
Well, is that true or not?
Well, we keep thinking there's a nuke that they have.
Absolutely true, but so is also.
If you fire on my house, bruh, I'm not listening to nobody's rules.
Right. But
it's a fight.
Also, though, like 5 minutes ago, before this war started, before Gaza started, just because Trump and his mouth-breathing cadre are calling Iran a terrorist state doesn't mean it's not a terrorist state. And they have been the biggest exporter of acts of terrorism in the entire region for a long time.
I'm going to say it's the United States is the biggest exporter of terrorism.
I wouldn't suggest otherwise. I wouldn't suggest otherwise. But we don't live there. They live there.
We're saying
in that region.
Bad guys and bad guys. That's what we got. We got multiple regimes that need to be changed. I'm with you on that, but I'm not buying into they're the only exporters of terrorism.
I didn't say only.
Blew up everybody. Like we
I
out
didn't say only
over Venezuela. We messing with we trying.
Well, Venezuela's still connected to Iran more.
But what do you think about the surrounding Arab countries like your Saudi Arabias and stuff like that? Do you think they're going to distance themselves from the U.S. and Israel, or
no, they're too dependent.
I think they want peace because they signed on to the Abraham Accords, so they might maintain civility if anything.
But there's also that this is the power struggle between Iran and Saudi Arabia that's spilled into the rest of the region through the proxy wars that we were talking about last time, through the Houthis and through Hezbollah, right? And the Saudi foreign minister came out, I don't know, yesterday or Thursday, and was very clear about, hey, listen, there's only so much of this we're going to take. And so I think the Abraham Accords are thoroughly kiboshed at this point.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty fucked.
I also think we all have to remember that as much as we want to think that Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia or Qatar care about what happens in Israel and Palestine and Gaza, we also have to remember that these are monarchies making sure that they keep their power. And they care more about keeping power in their respective countries than they care what's happening in Gaza.
It's not just Gaza. The people that are fucked the most out of all of this are Palestinians.
Well, includes Gaza and the West Bank,
but again, right? Like if you look at Saudi,
I just say it includes Gazans in the West Bank, but there's still different issues too, because Israel goes in and makes illegal settlements in the West Bank, and then Gaza's blockaded and whatnot. So it's just a lot going on.
Brother, I'm happy to deep dive with you, but that's a deep dive.
I got a question. I got a question. Okay, do you all think that these conflicts in the Middle East have more to do with religion or more to do with money?
It's a fool's errand to try and
Yeah, it's
separate
intertwined.
that.
It's money, it's religion, it's politics, it's land, and it's ego. I mean, it's all combined.
Power, real power.
All that, but also blood at this point because
I think religion has more to do with it.
I think for America, it's money.
Oh, it's money definitely for America.
On America's end, I would agree.
Yeah.
In America, God is money, so it's money for Americans. Israel, and regardless of what I think about it being a political state or not, they are at the bare minimum. Religion is playing a big part in what they're doing. So,
what Israel's doing,
I believe Netanyahu is religious or not. It doesn't matter. I think they have levels to what's going on where we're just like, all right, we're rolling with these guys. We just get resources for us. We just want to be wealthy. We'll help these guys. And the religious part of it, I don't think Donald Trump cares one way or the other. I don't think his administration cares one way or the other. With the
a couple of them do. Huckabee does.
Mike
He's a
Huckabee.
fucking whack job. That guy.
right, with the exception of those like
Man, action figures, man. I told you.
I think what I was trying to point out was that to me, I feel like religion is a tool by the wealthy used to keep themselves wealthy. That's what I feel. You know what I mean? Like these people aren't gonna give up power, they're not gonna give up money. So they use religion as a tool. So yeah, I mean religion plays a big part, but that's the tool. Like you said, Jesus is weaponized.
I think they weaponize it to get
I think it's only
normal,
part of it, but
to
yeah.
get the normal people to buy into what's going on.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Nico? I'm sorry.
I just said I think religion's part of it, but I think the core has always been about land and also probably blood because of the fact that they've kind of been at war for like at least 2+ years in this current one, even though they've had this is technically the 5th war the region has had from what I think I've read about it before.
These must have been at
Keep
war.
going.
No, and I agree with you, man. Because
I mean, it's just maybe it's the source I checked, but I don't know, they claimed it was the 5th, but maybe some of the stuff is up to date.
And land is wealth. You know what I mean? That is wealth. I kind of lump that into with wealth. I feel like land is wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. You know, so to me, that was just my point for asking that question. I feel like it's more a money than it is really a religion. I feel like religion is just a tool to keep the wealthy wealthy.
All right, we'll take us out, Sean. Any final points, final thoughts?
You know, I'm not a religious person at all. Like I said, I'm agnostic, borderline atheist, but I do feel that there's a lot of good that could be scraped from every religion. Hence why I raised my boys the way that I raised them. I don't really point them in any direction. I let them kind of find themselves. Got my little 6-year-old now asking me about God, Jesus. I tell them about him. You know,
You'll let him worship the devil.
I mean, whatever, man. If it makes him a good person, he happy. I don't care, man. I don't believe in all that stuff, right? Like I don't really subscribe to any of that, right? So I just feel that, you know, I just wish that, you know, more people would kind of just appreciate and respect other people's boundaries, like you, Jesus. I like how the fact that you are deeply religious, man, but you don't push it on other people. You don't concern yourself with their salvation because salvation is the individual's person's role to take. You know, I wish that more people were like that, and I don't see any end to that. I don't see an end to the Iran, Israel, Middle East thing with religion being involved. And Charles, you're gonna hate this, but I also really don't see an end to any of this with capitalism being involved. But that's a whole nother story, brother.
Okay. Anybody else got any final thoughts?
Hey, I just want to say real quick. Hold on. Before we get off, Charles been splashing that dude watch all show, man. He's doing that on purpose, man. I just want y'all to know that, okay?
I do like it. I do like to watch.
Nice. It's nice.
I didn't even know it was in a thing. That's not.
I didn't even know it was there. Look, I didn't even know it was there.
Sometimes I do this. It's just
but for real, I'm just messing with you, man. This is a good discussion. Seriously, I didn't know how it was going to go because religion's always a touchy subject, you know. And I felt like, you know,
it was very respectful. This was a very respectful night. I came prepared. Yeah. I was ready. I'm like, I was ready. I was ready for tonight. No, I didn't get to use my whistle and my yellow card.
The podcast you didn't know you needed. The Conversation to Be Had podcast.